Hello and welcome to another What Sold video. This is everything that sold for me May 4th to May 10th, and I only have eBay sales to share with you for this week, sadly. But I have some good ones, some not so good ones, but either way, it's money in my pocket, right? So I'm gonna scoot this rocking chair over here, and then we're gonna go. If you're wondering where I am currently on vacation, but I still brought all my filming equipment to hopefully catch up on filming some videos. So you will see random outdoor scenes for my What Sold videos for the next few videos, so hopefully you guys are into that. This first item is from the estate of Daniel Abao. For those of you that are new here, I managed to score a bunch of books from Daniel Abao's estate. If you have no idea who that gentleman is, unless you are super into British maritime history, you will have no idea who he is. He was a leading expert in British maritime history and how that affected their global imperialism. He lived in Williamsburg and passed away last year at the beginning of February, and I managed to go to the bins when his estate donated all of his books. And I picked up a lot of them. This is England in the Age of American Revolution. You can see it's not in the best of shape. The dust jacket's kind of nattered. And I also made to disclose that, you know, he wrote notes in the margins, because a lot of the books that were from his library were actually books written by colleagues and peers for him to review, because he's the leading expert. He was the leading expert in British maritime history. This book sold for $24.87 and the buyer paid for shipping. So I paid 50 cents for that book. Again, massive boon. This is Darkness at Noon by author Kostler. This is kind of a horror suspense book. Sold for $6.14 and I paid 25 cents for this at the bins. I think this is the last of the Robin Jordan sets to go out. I bought a bunch of these at Ollie's like 2 years ago. So I think I paid like $15 per set. So I kind of, after fees and stuff, made like 10 bucks, but I'm just glad that they're all sold because they did take up a lot of space just because of the fact I bought multiple sets. But this was the last one to sell. Really glad that it did sell. I did make money on it. But this is also why I don't do retail arbitrage. I'm just not good at it. Another retail arbitrage piece. This is a pair of Adidas. You can see here I listed the youth size, which is the size that it was actually listed by. And then I also listed the adult equivalent. If you did not know, kid size goes directly into men's size. So if you have a youth size 5, it's actually a men's size 5. And depending on the shoe brand, it's either a size and a half or 2 sizes up is the women's size. For Adidas, because I worked for Adidas for such a long time, I worked there for 4 years. So if you think I'm pronouncing it wrong, no, I'm just not pronouncing it American because it's a German company. I know for a fact that it's 1.5 sizes up. So I know that if it's a size 7, either in men's shoes or youth shoes, I can wear it because I wear an 8.5. I don't need a new pair of Adidas shoes. I still have plenty from when I worked for them. This sold for $46.87. This is another retail arbitrage piece, so I paid $30 for these shoes. I still have several pairs of these shoes, so again, I'm just not good at retail arbitrage, but I'm glad that these finally sold. This is a Life is Good shirt. I got this for free from Melissa, so Melissa, thank you very much. Sold for $9.87. Again, this is free to me, so I'm happy about that. This is a pair of vintage Sarrape shorts. Sarrape is a type of woven fabric, typical for Central and South American blankets. This is from the 90s, sold for $14. I picked this up at the bins, so pretty happy with that. This is another bins find. This is Henchel Hats. These breezer hats do sell very well. I was really excited when I found this at the bins. I did have to put it through the hand wash cycle in my washing machine to get it all cleaned up, but once I did that, it sold pretty quickly. Sold for $19.87 and the buyer paid for shipping. I believe like the original retail price for this hat's probably like around the $70 mark. But yeah, and it's also like the perfect season for it, so this was great. This is The Great Road, building of the Baltimore and Ohio 1996 trade paperback. Yes, I know, I am definitely clicking off the autism box with my love of trains. For those of you, that is not just a joke, I am actually autistic. But I do really also love trains. Everywhere I've ever lived, I have been by railroad tracks, and that does bring me great joy when I hear them rumbling by. I know for a lot of people that would be an annoyance, but for me, it makes me happy. This sold for $10, and the buyer paid for shipping, so this is great. You know, I do like to pick up a lot of history books because some of them can be valuable. A lot of the mass mass-produced autobiographies of historical figures aren't necessarily valuable, but a lot of the ones on great events can be. The next item is a vintage Jansen piece. Melissa gifted this to me. She knows how much I love Jansen. Jansen is a very old sportswear brand that specializes in bathing wear, but they also make regular clothes. Beautiful size 16 vintage top in this beautiful, like, soft plaid. I loved it. I think it's gorgeous. Great rainbow piece. Sold for $15.19. If this was in my size, I would have kept it. This is one of those pieces where I was thinking about just redonating because it just wasn't selling, and as soon as I had that thought, it sold. This is a Pelaton shirt. So this is the Century shirt. It has Century on the back. So when you completed 100 rides on Peloton, they would send you a shirt, or at least they used to. I don't know how it works. You know, it's been what, 5-6 years since that company blew up. Sold for $6.91, and I picked this up, I think, for like $1 somewhere. Anyway, I'm just glad it sold. Vintage magazines can be valuable. These vintage New Yorkers, I always list them by the date they were posted and also the artist. I do research to try to find the artist for the original cover because that's collectible. And people buy these, again, for movie and TV props. They buy them because all the New Yorkers are published on a specific date. So sometimes people buy them for people to be like, on the day you were born, this was going on in the world. People also buy them to cut them apart for crafting and also to individually pull out the advertisements from inside the magazine and frame them or to sell them individually. I'm not going to do that because I love ephemera, and to tear it apart when it's in good shape just makes me want to cry inside. But anyway, this sold for my full asking price of $14.87, and they paid $10 for shipping because this does have advertisement in it. It cannot go media mail. So I do put these in like a nice plastic poly mailer, and then I also put them in the flat rate envelope because these New Yorkers fit perfectly in there. And so they have protected cardstock around them, and they also have the plastic to keep them from getting messed up. I actually got that from free. I pulled it out of a hoarded house. This is a 90s Y2K Polo Ralph Lauren sweater, sold for $21.50. I knew it was 90s Y2K because it hadn't moved into the aughts slim fit style yet. So this was still a loose fit, which was popular in the late 90s, well, mid 90s, late 90s, and then the early Y2K era for men. It wasn't until about, I think, 2004, 2005 when like the slim fit came into being. So that's more of like a later aughts when everything was like, when the people say like 2000 skinny, they mean like that. They mean that. This is another piece gifted to me by Melissa. Melissa, thank you. This is a vintage Laura Ashley piece. It was a size 4 if this was my size. I'm not quite that small, nor do I want to be. I would have kept this for myself because it was a beautiful dark floral. Even though it would not have been a midi skirt for me, it would have been more like just below the knee because I'm so tall. I did try this on. I could not get it closed. I'm just not quite that slim, both in the hips and in the waist. So sold for $25. Again, it was free to me. So Melissa, thank you. J. Jill piece. This was a size small. I just accepted an offer because I've had this for over a year. Sold for $13. Normally I wouldn't let it go for that much, but I think this is something I picked up at the bins, so it wasn't that expensive anyway. Sold for $13, and again, I'm just happy it sold. This I am surprised it didn't sell for more. This was a 90s vintage t-shirt. It was single stitch. The artist, I did find the artist's name was Lida Sowers. She does a lot of Indigenous American motifs in her vintage shirts. Sold for $18 and the buyer paid for shipping. I paid $2.50 for this, I believe. Most people wouldn't pick up this stuff, but I did. I picked this up at the bins. It sold for $9.27. The buyer paid for shipping. The Surfware brands, like the brands that you would find at PacSun or Tilly's or Zoomies, I will pick them up because they are expensive retail, even though their resale value doesn't hold. 10 to 15 bucks is 10 to 15 bucks to me, especially when it's almost nothing for me to list it, and it cost me almost nothing anyway. Another vintage 60s book. This is Short Drive, Sweet Chariot by Williamsburg. This is actually technically nonfiction. This is about him getting this car and then driving around, like kind of like being a not automated, he's not a digital nomad because that's a modern thing. there was no digital then. Just a regular nomad living out of suitcases and stuff. Anyway, unless you want to read the book, you don't really care about that. And it was sold for $4.87. Buyer paid for shipping. This is Nike's piece. Again, another one from Melissa. She doesn't sell these workout basics. I do. I sell them all the time. This is what they sell for, between $5 and $15, depending on the style and the size and the brand. This is a just basic Nike t-shirt sold for $5. It takes me almost no more time to list it. And it was free to me. So $5 is $5. If that's not enough for you, don't do it. Everybody has different business models. You do you, I'm gonna do me. And that sounds a little lewd. But the last sale I have to share with you is this fairy tale manga. It sold for $2.47 and the buyer paid for shipping. I paid 25 cents for this at the bins. This is now something I would have put up on Pango, but again, I'm still in the process of pulling some of the lower value stuff off of eBay to put onto Pango, and I just hadn't gotten to this one yet. But I'm glad it sold. I still made about, $1.50 off of that sale, which is about what I would have made on Pango for it. So a win's a win. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you will be interested to see the different places I decide to film around. I am in a cabin in the Natural Tunnel Park, but I will be filming in random locations outside just to give you guys a little bit of variety for these wet solds and also to get them caught up. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you are having a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, bye. Bye.